to episode 4 of College Football Chatter with Chase, Caleb, and Zach. I'm Caleb, and we want to welcome in our newest member to the team, Zach. Zach, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate being here. I love this. Ready to get started.
Let's do it. All right, going to go episode 4. Today's January 29th. If you're listening, it's the January 29th episode. Got a good show today, guys. We're going to talk about conference breakdowns. You guys are going to give me your picks for who you think is going to win the top conferences in college football. We're going to do the Super Too Soon Top 25. You guys will break down your preseason top 25s. And we'll even look ahead to a surprise Super Bowl predictions for next weekend. That's right around the corner.
There we go. That'll be interesting.
We'll get to that. Before we get to anything, though, folks, do remember to follow us on Twitter. It's at CFB Chatter. And also, our newest Facebook page is up. It's College Football Chatter. So just search College Football Chatter on Facebook. Like the page. Let us know. We would like to hear from you, too. Let us know right on the wall, or even let us know on Twitter what you would like for us to talk about.
Yes, we would love comments. Comment down below this video. So
yeah, we want to know what you guys are wanting to hear. So let's go ahead and get to it. Let's go break down the conferences. Chase, ACC, man, coming out next season. You know, you got Clemson won it all, then got embarrassed in the Orange Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
How does that conference back that up?
Well, I think from the Atlantic Division where Clemson comes from, they are. The Atlantic Division where Clemson comes from. I think they're gonna come up short behind Florida State. I think Florida State's gonna have a good year this year. I think this is the year Jimbo Fisher finally pulls it together, and especially with this high recruiting class that he's bringing in, I think they're gonna take the Atlantic Division, and then for the Coastal, I'm gonna go with Virginia Tech.
Okay.
But for that championship game, I'm gonna go with Florida State. I think Florida State's gonna take it all in the Atlantic.
Yeah, so you talk about the recruiting class from Florida State. Jimbo has been having good recruiting classes ever since he's came into Florida State, but it just seems like they've always had a couple down years. So this is the year you think they finally get it together and win the conference?
I think they win those big games this year, and I really do think they're going to take it all the way this year and win the ACC.
Yeah, and a lot of people talking about Virginia Tech. A lot of people really thought Virginia Tech was the best team in the ACC at the end of the year. Yeah. They got their rematch with Clemson in the title game, but then Clemson beat them again for the second time that year. And Virginia Tech had a good showing, though, in the Sugar Bowl against Michigan, so we'll see if they can bounce back. So he says Florida State out of the ACC. So now, Zach, I'm going to throw it over to you. We got the Big Ten, man, second year that they're going to have their conference game. Who do you like from each division, and who wins that bad boy?
Well, first off, legends and leaders. Great name there.
That is.
You can't get better than that. If I had to go with the leaders, I think pretty much Ohio State, Penn State, Wisconsin. They're all coming off. Wisconsin's got a good year. Everybody else, bad years. I don't really know how to call that. If I have to give it to anybody, I think Wisconsin can pull through and win the leaders. Moving towards the legends. Michigan, enough said.
That's a good pick.
Brady Hoke had a great time out there this year with a full offseason. I think he can get it done, especially Denard Robinson coming back.
One more year from him, and that's tell you what, that's a great pick. And I think Michigan actually has a chance. I'll ask you, Zach. They actually have a chance to possibly compete for a national title this year.
Yeah, huge game, huge first game against Alabama. I'm gonna talk a little more about that in the top 25 picks, but huge game. I think Michigan surpasses Wisconsin in their championship game largely, and goes on to compete. And I'll talk to you more about that in the top 25.
Absolutely, those are two great picks. Obviously, we'll see if Penn State can back, after the emotional year they had this year from the leaders division. See if maybe they can make a run at it. And Ohio State, that'll be interesting. See if the old boy, the Ohio man himself, former Florida coach. What he'll do in his first year, Urban Meyer.
Florida got it done against them, though, didn't they?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Pretty bad, too. Let's move on over to the Big 12 now, Chase. This is a conference that's overgoing a little expansion. They lost Colorado and Nebraska a couple years ago. This coming up season, though, they're getting West Virginia, who put on an absolute showing, a beat down of Clemson in the Orange Bowl, and they are also going to get TCU, who the last couple of years they've had some pretty decent teams. So Big 12, man, who wins that conference?
You know what? It's those two teams being added, West Virginia and TCU. I think I have them pretty pretty well in my top 25. But But being competitive in the Big 12 this year, I don't see them being that competitive this year. Kind of like you would think Missouri and A&M, just kind of adjusting to the new conference
or even
situation.
Nebraska in the Big Ten last season.
Yeah. But because Landry Jones is coming back for OU, I really think OU's gonna take the Big 12 this year.
Wow.
I mean, UT's gonna be in their fight, and so is OSU. But I really think Oklahoma's gonna win it this year.
Oklahoma State, Cowboy fans out there, hopefully you're listening. Don't know if you can expect the same season they had last season. Gundy's a great coach, and he's put together some great teams. But losing Blackman,
Whedon was a great older leader for them.
That's a lot. That's a lot of responsibility that man took on, and I don't know if you can just get a guy over the offseason and expect him to step in and do that.
I do think Kansas State with Bill Snyder, like they had a pretty competitive year last year.
Chris Klein.
I'll tell you what, reminds you of Tebow. He really does remind you of Tebow, and he actually had a pretty good game against Arkansas in the Cotton Bowl last year, this past season. Cotton Bowl, it looked early as if Arkansas was going to run away with it. I remember watching the game, and I'm going, man, Arkansas is going to run all over these guys. They get a blocked extra point, run it back for the 2 points, then get another touchdown. All of a sudden, this game is competitive. You talk about that Kansas State team. That just seems to be their thing. They're never out of a game, man. Don't ever count those guys.
And that's what I'm saying. They will be in every game this season.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they have lots of passion. He carries that team. He's a leader. That carries that team, and I think that's huge for them this year.
Absolutely.
As long as they can stay in it, which I think they will, they're going to be in the top, finishing the top 3 in the Big 12, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so. I think that they are coming off kind of a season where they're still hungry. They want more. So that might be the team to watch from that conference. But you're going OU.
Yeah, the dark horse I have for Kansas State, but OU I have.
OU, the easy pick. Let's move to the Pac-12. Zach, Pac-12 has been owned by Oregon the last couple seasons. Yeah. USC maybe could have won that conference last year if they were eligible. This year they are eligible. They return Matt Barkley. Who wins Pac-12?
Well, you have a lot of haters out there that said that USC was SEC quality, that they would have beaten both LSU and Alabama if they would have played. I'm not saying that they're bad. They're great. I watched their offense a lot. Hands down to Lane Kiffin. Walked into a program with a mess, came out with it alive. But USC's problem, they don't have defense. Yeah. They lost games for lack of defense. I do have them winning the South, but I got to go with Oregon in the North again next year. I saw too much of Brian Bennett this year while Darren Thomas was out. Brian Bennett, he can sling it, man.
Yeah, great performance for him.
Great performance. He's also got some wheels. He can run. I think that Oregon can get it done over USC if it's at Oregon. That's the only way. If it's at USC, I'll take the Trojans. But a dark horse that I have in the Pac-12 North will be Washington. I'm going to tell you why. Keith Price, 33 touchdown passes. He gave Baylor fits in that game.
Yeah, that was
a
great
game.
Great game if you're an offensive fan.
Oh, yeah.
Great game. Keith Price, man, he's remarkable to watch, and they got him back next year. So, I mean, that's my dark horse for the Pac-12 is Washington.
Washington, that's a good pick.
More on Brian Bennett. We were talking about that last week about Oregon, replenishing that speed that they would be losing with Darren Thomas and LaMichael James.
Yeah.
I think he'll be a good fit at Oregon.
I still personally think Oregon's the team to beat.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's kind of one of those things where, like, USC, that was them back in the day. They were winning it year after year, and it's kind of like, until someone comes up and beats you, you can have all the hype you want.
Exactly.
I mean, USC, let me give them credit. They did beat Oregon last season, okay?
They did.
But when all the marbles are on the line, and this year, I mean, I guess you can't even call it a safe. I mean, I guess you can't even call it fair last season just because USC wasn't eligible. But I don't know. I just still think until someone takes it away from Oregon, they're the team to beat. But we'll see.
You can't forget about that defense. Finished second in the Pac-12 last year. Returning 8. I mean, they're saying their defense is going to be even better this year.
Yeah, and that's something that just doesn't get enough credit over there because of the speed of the offense. So definitely something to watch out for. Let's move to the SEC. 6 straight national titles. Mm-hmm. Going for the 7th. You've got LSU, Alabama, both of these teams. Obviously, kind of the teams to beat. Georgia, great performance last season.
Huge performance.
You talk about Florida. They need to rebound. Always a team you have to watch out for. Guys, SEC West, I'm going to ask both of you to chime in on this one for me. let's start with you, Zach. Who do you have winning the SEC? Actually, let's start with the East. SEC East.
SEC East. I got to go with Georgia. Okay, I know they lost their first 2 last season, and they ended up losing their last 2. I mean, it was a strong-fought game against Michigan State, and they came out swinging against LSU in the SEC championship.
They did. I mean, no first downs in the first half from that defense.
None. But their defense in the whole SEC ranked 3rd to the 2 contenders in the national title.
Who were 1-2 in the nation.
1 and 2. Okay.
3rd behind those 2 guys is probably 1st in any other conference.
Exactly. I think Mark Richt gets together over there, and you get Aaron Murray back. I just saw some things against LSU. If they can put together a full game, they've been having trouble doing it. Yeah. If they can put together a full game, I think they're going to win out the East, and we'll end up in the SEC championship again. But a huge, huge dark horse, having a great year recruiting this year, would be Vanderbilt.
Wow. That would be incredible. I'm just going to say that. But to comment on your Georgia pick, though, that's a team that you said they just couldn't put together that whole game. Going back to that Outback Bowl against Michigan State, game they should have won. Oh, it was pretty much wrapped up.
What happened? Overtime.
And let me give credit where credit is due. Let me give credit where credit is due. Michigan State, that 2-minute drill that their offense put together there at the end of the game, superb.
Yeah.
Eli Manning, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees couldn't have done any better themselves. Absolutely fantastic performance by them in those last 2 minutes. You go Georgia. Chase, who are you going?
Missouri. I am kidding.
Wow.
I'm not serious. I'm actually going to go with South Carolina. I took that in our first episode.
Are you kidding me?
No, Steve Spurrier, I think he's...
I'm joking.
I think he's had, good teams these past couple of years, and I think he will challenge Georgia again this year, and I think they'll actually take it back and win the East again this year.
It's so crazy hearing these East picks, and you guys are both saying Georgia and South Carolina, and you're throwing Vanderbilt in there. You're joking around with Missouri. Guys, is it strange?
That was a joke, though, right?
Yes,
that was
a joke.
Okay.
A joke.
Is it strange, though, that we have not been talking about Tennessee and Florida, 2 of the most historical programs from the East? What's going on over there, man?
I think it's a flop. I think Will Muschamp jumped in the situation, and honestly, I think he's a great defensive coordinator. That's what I said. He's a great defensive coordinator.
And their defense has been okay, but it's been their offense.
I think with Charlie Weiss leaving, the offense is going to
start over again.
Yeah, starting over again. That's never fun.
Click reboot.
And if Tim Tebow, if it doesn't happen, if it doesn't work out with Denver, I think you got a job in Gainesville if you're interested.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
I feel like they're never going to, not that they're never going to recover, but that's what they're trying to recover from. And that may be what we start to see Auburn do out of the West.
Yeah. I think Derek Dooley, though, with Tennessee, is going to come and have some good games this year. I think he fought a lot of tough ones this year. And I think
he stayed competitive.
He stayed very competitive throughout every game. They came out and hit LSU in the mouth, Alabama in the mouth. I just think that the size, they just didn't have the size up front.
And depth.
Size and depth. Yeah. I think they were just playing too many young players, and it just hurt them. But I think this year, a lot of Tennessee fans are going to end up being very happy.
Yeah, I think Tennessee is definitely a team that it just seems like every year, though, when we talk about Tennessee, this year they're going to do better. They're going to get a little bit better. I guess what, the Tennessee fans out there, the Tennessee faithful, they're following us on Twitter out there. They get impatient just like LSU fans do.
Well, they were in the SEC Championship in 2007.
Exactly. They're in the SEC Championship. You talk about the Peyton Manning era. I mean, they've had some great seasons. So for these guys battling out for 4th and 5th place now, it's unfortunate. But I really wish Tennessee the best of luck. So Georgia, South Carolina, I would have to side with Zach on that one. I think Georgia gets it done again, and I think they're actually competitive in the SEC Championship this season. So we'll see how that goes. So let's move on over to the West, but we'll do that in the next video. We're out of time here on video 1. So go ahead and click the link below for part 2 of episode 4 and see what the guys have to say about the West.